countries from the south and countries from the north of the Mediterranean agreeing on what they want to do. And fourthly, rather than go for big projects and a very over-ambitious project, we decided that we should try to work together at very concrete and practical programs that we could launch together. For instance, the depollution of the Mediterranean, the whole question of the maritime roads in the Mediterranean, the whole question of energy, the question, for instance, of how to promote solar energy in the Mediterranean, how to promote small and medium enterprises, which is one of the difficulties those countries are facing, etc., etc. And so every year we will agree all together on 6 or 7 of those very practical proposals and try to push them forward as quickly as possible. So there was this summit that took place about 2 weeks ago in Paris. I think it was a success. Everybody thought that the idea was great. Now we need to put this into practice now and in action. This is a bit more complicated. The next rendezvous will be for the foreign ministers in the beginning of November in Marseille, where they will precisely adopt the set of proposals, the set of programs that we will push forward afterwards.
Mr. Ashman is
You're finding this difficult.
Not the only one with problem with President Sarkozy, when he came to the United States, gave a very stirring speech before Congress and really set the tone for the new relationship. What do you think the next President of the United States can do in terms of reassuring Europe, in terms of reassuring the French people and the French government that we want to further improve the relationship?
I think it's not only with France, but the whole of Europe that President will have to see, and I think the main issue for all of us is to see how we can find a new way of managing our transatlantic relationship. In other words, what should we do in order to have that relationship, which has always been very important? After all, it's a cooperation between countries which share the same values, the same principles, who are all in favor of democracy, and that is very important in the world of today. How this relationship can be improved, modernized, and adapted to the realities of today. Now, when we created that relationship, the transatlantic relationship, it was in the 50s, we had a sort of common unit, the Soviet Union, and we had common values and common methods, containment, etc., etc. We're very far away from that reality today. Whatever we may think about Russia, Russia is not the Soviet Union, it's different. We face many other challenges. The main instrument of that relationship, NATO, is today in Afghanistan. Nobody would have thought about that 30 years ago. And we're facing major challenges altogether in Africa and other parts of the world. So I think we really need to set up some sort of dialogue on both sides of the Atlantic to see how we can put to date, update that transatlantic relationship in terms of the objectives, the targets, the purpose of the whole thing, the method that we must use, the instruments we must use, how to adapt those instruments. And this is a major issue in this.
For instance, the European Union presidency for the next 6 months. And 2 to 3 main points for the Union of Mediterranean, except for Lisbon initially, and the Lisbon Treaty, which is not. What over the next 6 months is France going to do to try to influence reforms from the Lisbon Treaty to help the European Union move forward?
So the first thing we will do is not to talk too much about it. It's a very sensitive issue for the Irish, and very understandably so. I mean, if 3 years ago, when the French voted no at the referendum, our partners would have come and told us immediately, you will have to vote again now. We don't care about the first vote, we want you to start it all over again. you can imagine the outcry that would have brought in France immediately. So I think we must pay tribute to the Irish democracy, accept the fact that they have voted no, and allow some the necessary time for the Irish leadership and the Irish population to think altogether what they want and what they want and what can be done. You know, it's very difficult when you have a referendum on Europe and then it ends with a no vote to understand exactly what are the reasons, because it's usually a mixed bag of many different people. Sometimes just angry about their everyday life, and as the questions passing by, asking them to vote on Europe, they vote no because they just want to say that they're angry and they don't care for 1 minute about Europe. That was quite often the case in France. Now they may also have some criticism about Europe, so we have to focus on what precise elements inside the European Union they would like to change, and then we will have to look at that. Now, we only have one note of caution, cautious note that we would like to give to our Irish friends, is that, as you may know, the timetable is set in the way that we will have new European elections for the European Parliament next June 2009. And we think that if we want to go on, and if we want everything to go on in the proper way, in an orderly way inside the European Union, it would be preferable that the Irish issue would be solved before that European election in 2009. We still have some time, but we shouldn't lose too much time. That's the only remark or observation I think could be said. Apart from that, it's really for our Irish friends to tell us what they think we could do in order to help them. And so we have to listen to them and be very honest and very humble.
Mr. Professor, if you have any suggestions as to what Turkey might do to increase its chances of joining the EU?
I think that the first thing is to go on very patiently in the negotiation process that is taking place at the moment. Those negotiation process, accession negotiation, are usually very difficult. They can take a lot of time. The Turks must understand that this is nothing against them. When we negotiate with Spain and Portugal, it took a long time. At one point, that negotiation was even suspended because of France, obviously, at the end of the 70s. And we started again at the beginning of the 80s, and it took us still 4 or 5 years to get an agreement. So those are very long, protracted, technical discussions that take a lot of time. Because it means that all the regulation, all the legislation approved by the European Union since the beginning of the Union has to be taken on board by the Turks. So this will be rather long. I think that apart from that, what we can only hope is that the decisions that will have to be taken in Turkey in the next few days or few months, you know, that we are all waiting for a decision by the Supreme Court on the main party of the present parliamentary majority. We all hope that the decision that will be taken will not put in jeopardy the democratic life of Turkey. And we look very much for that and to see what we can do in order to keep on the course as it is at the moment.
Mr. Ambassador, what is the position or how much support France gives to the two-state solution between Israel and Palestine? I'm asking because I'm traveling to Jerusalem in 4 weeks.
I hope the French position will help you in that. The only thing I can tell you is that the French position, just as European position, is very much in favor of this two-state solution. But two states that will live in security are very much adamant and they need to protect Israel's security. That is very important. And of course, to have two states, which means a Palestinian state that will be viable, in other words, that will not be a patchwork